Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to another episode here on my RADROVER RAD power bike. Uh, I'm going to be going over a few things here. I'm going to talk about the brakes and the tire pressure. So if you've seen my previous episode, I just took it out of the box, put it together, and just went with it. And just that alone works. It works just fine. You can just take it out of the box, put it together, and ride with it. But after watching it and riding around with it and cleaning it, I said to myself, let me check the tires. Let me see what pressure they are because I didn't even bother. They were filled, but to my surprise, they were only at 5 psi or less. And so that's another reason why I had such a smooth ride. It's a very soft ride. Another thing is the brakes were starting to squeak, and they did sound like they were in the way too as I was moving it back, just walking the bike. I can hear the brake pads skimming the disc brakes and everything. So I'm going to show you what you can do on how to make some simple adjustments for it, and I'll show you where, just in case if you want to know. So let me cut in and cut out. Alright, first thing I wanted to say is the toolkit that comes with the bike provides so far everything that you need to actually maintain and do whatever you need to do on the bike. So there's an Allen wrench in here that you can adjust the brakes. So first thing I'll talk about is the brakes. The only thing that you do need is you need a tire pump. That's the only thing they don't provide. Or some kind of pressure gauge and some air. An air compressor would really be useful. But let me cut in, cut out, and I'll show you a little bit about the brakes, and then I'll go on to the tire. Alright, I'm at the back tire area, and you can see there's the motor. And if you're having an issue with your brakes, you might want to look at the brakes here, and there is an adjustment, as you can see right there. Here's the tool, and you just simply, let me see if I can get on this side here. You simply just go in here, and there, clicks in, and then you just turn, I think to the right, pushes the brake in, the brake pad in. To the left, pulls the brake pad out. And I don't know if you can see this. Maybe you can't. It's very hard to see. Might be better to see it on this side. Yeah, right here on this side. If you can see that, you can see the spacing. You can see it right there. Spacing right there. You could see some spacing in here between the brake disc and then the brake pads right there. You can see the two there slightly. So either it goes in. I think this brake pad is the one that goes in and out. This brake pad inside just stays the same. So you can kind of see a little spacing between them. And so I noticed that it doesn't make any noise, it doesn't squeal, and the same thing goes for the other. Sorry about that, the video cut off. The same thing goes for the front brakes as well. You just simply, let's move the tire just a little bit. There you go. You let's see, move right here. Just put it in here, and it will clearly say turn. If you turn to the right, it goes in. You turn to the left, it will go out. Same thing with the back brakes, very similar. And let's see if I can show you. You can see the disc brakes. So you see the disc brakes right here, and you can see the spacing. Let me see here. See the spacing? There's this tiny little space here, and then there's a bigger space on this side. As you can see, the daylight. And so I think this is the only one that moves in and out. I'm not sure about the other side. So once you get that adjusted, it should start flowing. It should start flowing really freely. The drawback, though, is when I first started using it, the brakes were very tight. In other words, when I squeezed it, it didn't take too much to engage the brakes. Then again, it was also squeaking all the time. When you adjust them, you actually have to pull a little harder to engage the brakes on the brake disc and to get it to stop. Not a lot, but harder. You have a lot more. You have a lot more. There's a lot more pull. There's a lot more pull you have to do. Before I just had to do only this much. Now I have to actually pull a little bit more to get it going, and it was only like 1 or 2 clicks. They do click. They click. You could hear the clicking sound, and that's how you could tell it's going. Same thing on this side. I try to make them somewhat even. Before, when I pulled the brakes on this is for the back brakes, I believe. I just pulled this much, and it would engage the brakes really hard too. It was really tight. Now that I've adjusted it so it doesn't squeal and make noise, I have to pull this much. So it was like, first it was just like very light. Now I have to pull a little harder. But what I like about it is it stops making noise, and I think it works a lot better. Yeah, I just have to get used to just pulling a lot more. Doing the travel to pull it is obviously bigger. And so let me go and show you the tires and what pressure I came up with. Alright everyone, I'm gonna check the tire pressure here. When I first got them, they look pretty, they looked full, but now that I pumped it, this is at 20 psi, it's hard. It's hard, and that's just at 20. They're rated at 30. It says here, let me see, it says right here 30 TPI. I don't know what that stands for, casing wire. I don't know if that's 30. In the manual it recommends 20, I think, or something like that. Anyways, I have it at 20, and they're very hard. It's very hard. And I rode around with it at 20 psi, and it's very bumpy. I have actually had to engage the front suspension. I've actually had to engage the front suspension for the front tire. The rear tire has gotten a lot more bumpier. I've noticed, and the seat is. I started noticing my butt starting to hurt, especially when I went over a lot of bumps. You could really feel it. So, but it's originally set at like almost 1 to 5 psi in the tire, which was very low, but I still rode in it, so you could set it that low. It's very smoother on the ride. So what I'm going to do is it's already pumped to the air, but if you don't have one of these are very useful. Some kind of tire gauge would be useful. You don't want to go over it because the tire will get very hard, and you will definitely have a very bumpy ride. But let me just show you the pressure. I have it set to 30. Hold on. Oh, just barely under 20. I need more pressure greater than 20 to put 20 into the tire. So let me cut in, cut out, and I'll plug this in and get it going. Okay, so you can see the tire pressure is at 20 as I just measure it out. So that's where I just put a little bit more in there. Yeah, that's at 20. Having one of these air compressor is really helpful. I highly recommend it. The bicycle pump that I have doesn't really work. But even at 20, it is very hard. And on the rear, I might adjust it. I might even lower it down to 15 because I might just bring it down to 15 because the back is too hard for me on the on the butt. So let me see, take that out. So that's one change I might do. Let me ride around with it and I'll adjust it and figure out what to do. But at 20 right now, it seems to be hard. 20 in the front makes a lot of more sense because I got the suspension, and it's probably going to take a lot of, well, maybe the brunt of what's going on. Anyways, let me cut in, cut out, and I'll see what I can do. All right, everyone, I'm back. So far what I've done is I've adjusted the back tire to 15 psi, and I rode on the street where they have the reflectors in the street. There's a whole row of them right in front of my house, and so I rode slowly and I rode really fast using the throttle, and you can feel a slight difference. It is more bumpy when the tires are at a higher pressure level. I tried it at 15 and I tried it at 20. At 15 psi, the tires seem to absorb the bumps a lot better. And then at 20, I could feel the back of my seat moving up a lot more. The suspension in the front really does a good job of absorbing a lot of the impact. And so I think I can leave the front at 20. I just came back and did this. This is at 20 right now. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 20. I'm gonna try it. But at least when you get these tires, when you get them out of the box, they are at probably most likely at 10 psi. I didn't measure them because I originally thought my pressure gauge was broken because it didn't even show up. My lowest setting on my pressure gauge is at 10 psi, and I put it in there and it wasn't even showing up. So I'm assuming there must be at 10 psi at least. And so when you get these tires, they're 10 psi. So you probably want to put them in some air, especially if I'm riding on the streets. I'll have to go out and see how 20 psi is on these. Maybe I will have to adjust the back. At 15, it does ride really well on the back tire, and it does absorb some of the shock from running over little bumps, but I won't know until I actually do it. Anyways, this is going to conclude my episode on adjusting your brake pads, front and back. It works. It doesn't squeak. It has a lot of room. I don't hear any of the brake pads, skidding on the brake disc. So it moves a little bit more freer, which is better. Although I do have to squeeze on the brakes. I do have to squeeze on the brakes a lot harder. As a matter of fact, on both of them to stop. Matter of fact, the way I have it set up, the tires don't lock. So maybe I can adjust it, but the last time I adjusted it, I just adjusted it just to get rid of that squeaky noise because it was really bothering me. And that's how they're set, and they don't squeak and they don't make any screeching noise. So anyways, I enjoy this a lot. I will continue to make videos. I'll do updates. So far I only have, let me see, I have 27 miles so far on this. 27 miles. So I'm sure I'm going to do a lot more. Anyways, let me conclude this episode. So feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, everyone, stay tuned. All right, bye.